Welcome back to the Railway Tour Manager channel. And today we're journeying northwards to the county of North Yorkshire, and specifically we'll be visiting the seaside town of Scarborough, where we'll be exploring the famous Scarborough Cliff Railways. So come and join us on our adventure. A journey starts with a trip on the open-top tourist bus, and as we near the roundabout just south of the Grand Hotel, a very promising sight comes into view. It looks very much like a funicular to me, so come with me, let's go and explore. The tourist bus stopped just round the corner, so that gave me the opportunity to jump off to find the funicular, and this is what I found. Well, the tracks look a little bit rusty, and there's a building down there. And it says it's sold. I wonder if this is going to be the resurrection, the Phoenix funicular rising from the ashes in Scarborough. There were originally 5 such cliff railways, and now, sadly, there's just 2 left. And the 2 cars are there, that looks promising, but it's slightly worrying that I can't see any cables. So let's make our way back down to the bottom of this funicular and find out what's going on. As we do so, you get a fantastic view of the overbridge, and you can probably hear the noise in the background as there's lots of kittiwakes. And some of them have even taken the opportunity to form a colony that are nesting on every available ledge on the bridge. Although the sign says Sea Strand, what we're looking at is in fact the St. Nicholas Cliff Lift. It was opened in 1929 on the 5th of August, and it was built by the Medway Safety Lift Company at a total cost of £6,000. The track is 102 feet long and rises at a gradient of 1 in 1.33, and with a track gauge of 7 foot 6 inches. When the cliff lift was originally built, there was no bottom station, so it ran for a few years without there being one. In 2006 and 7, the funicular was permanently closed, and the lower station became the Sea Strand Ice Cream Parlour, and you can see a picture of it here before it was put up for sale. Well, having explored the bottom station, it's time for us to take the long walk up, right up to the top, and find out what's going on there. Well, the top station has been changed into what is now St. Nicholas Cafe, and the 2 riding cars have been bolted or somehow fixed together, so there's no opportunity that they'll ever move again and resurrect this funicular. But in the meantime, you can sit there and have a cup of coffee and gaze across the splendid view that Scarborough Bay has to offer, and dream of the days when the funicular ran. Well, having explored the long-extinct St. Nicholas Cliff Lift, it's time for us to go and explore the 2 remaining cliff lifts in Scarborough. So let's start with the Central Tramway. The seaside town of Scarborough was at the forefront of United Kingdom cliff railway technology. The first cliff railways appeared here. We'll shortly be visiting the very first cliff railway in the United Kingdom, but first let's concentrate on the Central Tramway as I tell you something of the wonderful history. The Central Tramway was built in 1881 and is located immediately north of the Grand Hotel, and in fact that building on the left is the Grand Hotel. One unusual feature, which probably goes unnoticed by the up to 500,000 passengers a year, is the presence of these pennies. I've no idea what they're for, but this one is a 1920 penny. And you'll find one on the other door that leads to the second car. We'll see that later. But for now, let's just enjoy the railway as it rises higher and higher and Scarborough Bay stretches out its sublime scenery before our very eyes. The funicular was opened to the public on the 1st of August 1881. The Central Tramway is 247.6 feet long, and it rises at a gradient of 1 in 2.4, with a very familiar track gauge of 4 foot 8.5. Another unusual feature of the Central Tramway is the fact that you don't see any pulleys between the tracks for the cables. Instead, there are blocks with 4 circular grooves in them where the 4 cables connecting the cars run. When the tramway was opened, it was originally powered by steam, with the steam being generated by equipment located some 60 feet beneath the top station. And as such, the driver was unable to see the carriages. So, to minimize any risk posed by potential equipment failure, each car has a safety brake system, which is designed to operate on the center rails that you can see in the video. The 153 steps that you can see on the left are McBean steps, and on the right, that building is the Olympia Leisure Centre. As we change cars, you may be able to see the penny that I mentioned earlier if you look quickly. In this video, we'll be visiting all 3 of the cliff railways located in the South Bay area of Scarborough. But you may recall I mentioned that there are originally 5. What about the other 2? Well, they were both located in the North Bay area, and the first one I'll mention is the North Bay Cliff Lift, and that's the most recent. It opened in 1930, but was closed in 1996. The other one being the Queen's Parade Cliff Lift, that opened in 1878. That after a series of calamitous disasters, including on the opening day one of the carriages breaking away at the top and crashing into the lower stations, the funicular was forced to close, only surviving for 9 years, till 1887. These short snippets of videos give you views from both cars, both travelling up and down, with views from both the rear and the front of the carriages. So I'm going to be quiet now, just let you get on and enjoy the journeys. Did you know that each of the cars has actually got their own name? One's called Grand and the other is called Olympia. And guess which side they're on? If you're a frequent traveller on the tramway, or maybe you just visited it once, you may well have noticed some small wooden carved mice, either at the bottom or top station, or the cars themselves. In true Terence Cuneo style, these mice are the official emblem of the tramway, and you may well have seen one on one of the tickets too. These cute little mice are inspired by Tom and the Tram, a children's book published by the company. Spotting all of the mice acts as an ongoing game for children and visitors alike, and they're supported by fact sheets from the Central Tramway company. However, the staff are somewhat sneaky. The mice get moved around, and they don't know how many there are, so it's an ongoing guessing game. And to help you, I've put some mice in some of these pictures so you can go back and have a look and see if you can see them. At the top station is this very informative wall panel which shows you how the tramway works. I've taken close-ups for you so you can pause the video and just read it at your leisure to find out everything you need to know about the Central Tramway. So now it's time to say goodbye to the Central Tramway as we make our way along the beach for short distance to our next funicular, the historic South Cliff Lift, the very first cliff railway in the United Kingdom. Oh, and by the way, don't bother looking for any mice in this section. I thought it best to leave them at the Central Tramway, don't you think? During 1873, the Scarborough South Cliff Tramway Company Limited was created to construct the first funicular railway in the United Kingdom. The funicular was designed and engineered by William Lucas, and its construction was undertaken by Crosley Brothers of Manchester at a cost of £8,000. The two cars were constructed by the Metropolitan Carriage Company of Birmingham and were each capable of carrying 14 seated passengers. Each car was attached to a twin steel cable rope, which was originally operated by a brakeman at the top station, while the bottom of each car had a water tank fixed to it. The track is 4 for 8.5 standard gauge size, and the length is 284 feet on a gradient of 1 in 1.75. On the 6th of July 1875, the railway opened, and since opening, it has been refurbished several times. During 1879, the original gas engines were replaced by steam pumps, and between 1935 and 1947, operations were suspended for a time prior to the completion of another refurbishment, which involved the replacement of the water system by a 90 horsepower electric engine. The cars were also replaced by two that were built by Hadswell Clark and Company in 1934 to 1935. During 1993, Scarborough Borough Council purchased the funicular from its owners, and in 1997 the control infrastructure of the lift was extensively modified, enabling operations to be handled entirely by its automated systems. Well, that's pretty much all of the history that I can give you on this wonderful funicular. Well, there's still a few more right to left, so why don't you just sit back, relax, and enjoy the wonderful views across Scarborough Bay. Well, as we've been riding the funicular, I've been looking at these cables, and the ones on the right, there seems to be 5 there, yet on the left-hand side there's only 4. I really don't know what the reason is for that. 4 on the right are big, and there's a smaller one in between. And when we get to the top, you can see them quite clearly. Let's go back down and have another look. Do you know what? I could do this all day. Well, I guess by now you must be tired and bored of riding the funicular. So just to finish off this video, I'm going to show you a few alternative shots from the top station. Well, as the cars almost kiss in the middle and the tide in the bay turns, it's time to finish this video. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed exploring the famous South Bay Cliff Railways of Scarborough. If you've found all the mice, then leave a comment and I'll see how well you've done. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to the Railway Tour Manager. I look forward to joining you on the next video.